I had to set the camera. Hang on. Oh. How was everybody?
Great.
Excellent. I'm so glad to see you. The holidays are upon us. So in order to get ready for this talk, I did some informal surveys, which basically constituted wandering around and asking people, so, are you ready for the holidays? Ready for the holidays? And these are some of the responses I got. I'm about as ready as I'm going to be. I'm almost there. There's a lot of stuff to do. I'm not ready yet. There was a lot of eye rolling going on. And this is my personal favorite. Now, you know that I am given to hyperbole, but somebody actually said this. Maybe they won't be that disastrous. Yeah. I'm like, oh my goodness. So, yes, the holidays can be, well, first let me do a show of hands. Who is approaching the holidays with just a little bit of trepidation? Little bit of stress? Yes, little tiny bit. So my goal here today, my title is Home for the Holidays. And when I picked that title, I actually didn't know there was a movie, which means I have to get out a lot more. But what I'm talking about is what is home? How do we create the sense in our hearts of being home for the holidays? Our season is starting next week. So now is the week to consider, how do we approach the holidays? What are the values that we are going to bring into the holidays? How do we in our community want to show up for the holidays? Because we get to make that choice. So my title is not geographically home for the holidays. It's how do we create a situation in our hearts and in our circle of influence where we can truly be home for the holidays. Now, in this community, we know, because we study it, that we are co-creators of our own experience. We know that our intentions create our lives. We know that we have a choice of how we think, how we approach things, and we can shift the paradigms to create an experience that we want to create. So, how do we want to show up? Now, we just finished a Sunday school class where we talked about lay leadership, and it was basically how our work in the church can be a spiritual experience. Remember that class? How our meetings, how our interactions, how our very energy can be a spiritual experience as we work in this community. Well, my thought is, how about if we approached the holidays as a spiritual experience? Because they are. Everything we do is a spiritual experience. Our challenge is just to recognize it. So here's my thought. We have a month. We have 5 weeks. Let's think about approaching the holidays as a spiritual practice. And let's just start now. The very notion of practice suggests awareness and intention. Sometimes people just go into the holidays kind of ricocheting from one event to the next. I've got to do this. I've got to buy this present. I've got to decorate the house. They're coming. I've got to bake a pie. Let's change that. Do we think that we can approach the holidays with awareness, with intention, with some calm? Show of hands. I think we can. We have a choice how to do it. That is what spiritual practice is. It's putting feet to our principles. And there is no better time. Because we know the holidays can be stressful. I have no time off. There are some people who have no time off. Which means that we have to fit all the festivities and all the purchases and all the whatever into the time we have. I came across a very interesting statistic. This is for those who wish to be a little more depressed. I learned that it's about $750 per American for Christmas presents, for holiday presents. So for a couple, it's $1,500. For a family of 5, it's $3,750. Holy moly, seriously. Wow, I know. So there are challenges we face. We're seeing all these ads about Black Thursday or Gray Thursday or Black Friday. Now, I think there are different ways we can approach this. You know what I think of when I think of Black Friday? My wife's cousin and her mother always used to get together on Black Friday, 5 o'clock in the morning, and go do something together. It was a tradition. It was the way they bonded. And so I choose to think of Black Friday in that context. I know that there are some horrible experiences that happen, but it's also a time for people to bond, to start their Christmas traditions, their holiday traditions. So we can change the way we look at the holidays. So let's consider how we want to show up this holiday. And I would suggest that the values we want to consider include gratitude, wonder, hope, and joy. Let's just think about that for a second. Gratitude, wonder, hope, and joy. Even the words change the energy. Do you notice that? Do you notice just a lift in your hearts? That's because they resonate with who we are. We are people of wonder, gratitude, hope, and joy. That's who we are. It's not a coincidence that the holiday season starts with Thanksgiving. It's almost like there was a plan. Gratitude comes first. Gratitude for what we have, just like Rabbi Mitch taught us last week. Gratitude for what we have, gratitude for what we are, gratitude for even the things that we have not yet received, but we know they are coming because we are people of faith. And more than faith, we are people of knowledge because we have seen this work in our own lives. So we are grateful for what even has not yet shown up. For the good, for the challenges that Rabbi Mitch talked about last week, because they are opportunities for growth. As I was researching this talk, I came across a story about a group of ministers back in 1929, right after the Great Depression. And the stock market had tanked. People were jumping out of windows. There were bread lines a mile long. And they got together and they were wondering how they deal with a series of Thanksgiving in the midst of such massive despair and displacement. And a few of them said, well, I don't think we should even mention Thanksgiving. We should just, kind of gloss over it because there's nothing to be thankful for. But one of the senior ministers said, no, at this time, particularly at this time, we need to punch it up. We need to be more grateful. We need to focus on gratitude for what we have, gratitude for what we are. Now is the time, in this most difficult time, to express a sense of gratitude for the blessings we have. The most intense moments of thankfulness can sometimes be found in the darkest moments. When we reach down and we realize that we have so much we have to be grateful for. We can celebrate the good even when it is not all that apparent. Think of the first Thanksgiving, for heaven's sake. Think of the Pilgrims. They had nothing. Half of them were dead. They had left their country. They had nothing to go on, but they were still giving Thanksgiving. Another interesting fact I found out is that Abraham Lincoln formally established the first Thanksgiving Day in the middle of the Civil War. The most significant upheaval this country has ever known. And yet he saw fit to establish a Thanksgiving Day. There was a reason for that. Because that is when we need to be thankful. That is when we need to be expressing thanks. When we need to be grateful. So today we have the internets. And the internets instantly bring us mayhem, chaos, murder, oppression. I have this joke when I go home. I go home and I ask, what's on the news? And then I say, never mind, it's all bad. It's all bad. But even when we are so surrounded by what is depressing, what is in our face, that is the time when we can call upon the spirit of gratitude for the blessings we have and for the fact that we know that changes of heart can happen. That's what we do in this community. We pray for world peace. We pray for the spread of compassion because we know it's possible. And we know that the more good energy is put into those ends, the more those values will spread. Isn't that true? So we are grateful because we know that those values that we hold are going to spread around the planet. Compassion, peace, and love. And we just give thanks ahead of time. The other thing gratitude does is it opens up our hearts for the holiday season. Values of wonder, hope, and love, these are qualities of the heart. These are not qualities of the intellect. What we want to do is we want to experience the holiday, and this is a focus that we can take. We want to experience the holiday through our hearts. Do you know what I mean by that? Our monkey minds will race to the next thing we have to do. We have to be here. We have to be there. We've got to do this. But our hearts are always right here. That's not a mental thing. If we slow down, if we pay attention to what is in front of us, those are qualities of the heart. There's a Buddhist teacher named Jack Kornfield, who I'm sure many of you are familiar with, who wrote an excellent book called A Path with Heart. And he writes, in undertaking a spiritual life, what matters is simple. We must make certain that our path is connected with our heart. And that's true for the holidays, it's true for all year round, but this is such a wonderful time to practice it. Our essence, our inner essence, we reach through focus on our hearts. We are such a heart-centered community here. We don't focus on rules or regulations or what we need to say or what we need to believe. We focus on what is in our hearts. That is what we express. That is how we connect. By being present, by being heart-centered, by being loving. So what does that mean? It means slowing down to where we are, not letting our minds rush away with us to the next appointment, even though it has to get done. It may not need to get done now. It means being aware of the person in front of you, of the scene in front of you, of the changing leaves, of the rain, of the laughter, of the music. It just means being aware of where we are and the joy and the wonder of what is going on in front of us. That is approaching the holidays through your heart. One of my favorite hymns is Joy to the World, and it's got this, I hope Asha's going to have us sing it. Well, now she is.
Yeah.
Cool. It's got this great line. It says, let every heart prepare him room. Let every heart prepare him room. And what that means is, that's our job. That's our job this season, to take the time and just make room for the wonder of the Christ consciousness that is to be reborn and rebirthed in us. Every year, we have the privilege of having that happen. And every year we are reminded that we have the chance to open our hearts, to experience our oneness and our connection, which is with us always. Sometimes it's more apparent during the holiday season because there's family and there's community and there's friends, but we always have that opportunity to open our hearts. Thank God we have the holidays coming once a year just to remind us of it. So what are some steps we can take, each of us, to make room, to prepare? Well, one thing we can do, and this is something I know we sometimes fight, is release any notion you have that you do not deserve joy. I may be addressing this to the very busy people in the room, but sometimes we spend so much time rushing around doing for other people that we neglect ourselves. And you can't feed others, this is trite, unless you feed yourself. So release, let go of any ideas that you are not worthy of joy, that you do not deserve to be joyful, because you do. What does the Bible say? Your Father is pleased to give you the kingdom? With nothing on your part. It's grace. It's the gift of abundance, the gift of joy. You don't earn it, it is just given. We believe here that the universe is an abundant place. Well, that means it's abundant for us. Does anybody out there do the same thing I do, which is rush around? I'm always the one to, volunteer to do the dishes, except for my sister, to, run here and run there. Does anybody need to take more time for themselves during the holidays? Cass is back there. Yeah, seriously. So what do we do? What are some plans we have? To take 10 minutes for ourselves? To sit in the silence, to listen to some beautiful music? This is what we need to consider as we go forward. And here comes Benedict. And his parents, he's bringing his parents to church. Excellent. We know, as this holiday approaches, we affirm that our good is coming. And our job is just to be open to see it. So my urging to you this holiday season is just take time. Know that you are worthy of joy. You are worthy of abundance. Be grateful for it. Open your hearts to it. Take time for yourself, just as you are. It's not that you deserve it when you lose 20 pounds. It's not that you deserve it when you've paid all your bills. It's not that you deserve it when you get your hair done. You deserve it right now, even as you are, because we are all beloved children of God, just as we are. Isn't that a liberating thought? Yeah, it really is. The holiday season comes at a time when the world around us is literally darkening. It comes at a time when we need to remember that we have the capacity to hope, to wonder, and to love. It's getting dark, it's raining, it's cold. Let's just flip it for a second. Let's think what it would be like if we didn't have Christmas, if we didn't have the holidays. Let's pretend, boom, we're not having the holidays. What would that be like? No singing, no decorations, no festive music, no gathering of families, no Santa Claus, no Grinch stole Christmas. I mean, think about that. Think of what a wonderful opportunity we have right now. We need holidays like this to remind us that we have the capacity of wonder, of love, of joy, of giving, and of exchanging, and of connecting. That is the value of the winter holidays, whether it's Christmas, whether it's Hanukkah, whatever ceremony, whatever celebration you have. That is the value of the holidays to the human spirit. Another thought I had for the holidays is one of the things we tend to do during the holidays is we tend to relive prior holidays. Who does that? This Christmas wasn't as good as last Christmas. Last Christmas we did this. We didn't have potatoes, we had that. Does anybody do that? Hello? Yes, I do that. As we approach this holiday, here's another practice. Let's just be where we are. Sometimes we're not with the same family. Sometimes we're not in the same place. This is an invitation to develop new rituals, to develop new connections. We're celebrating this holiday. It's not last Christmas. It's not next Christmas. It's this one. You know, we're here for such a short time. I was reading a story of a young rabbi was traveling to a town to visit an old established rabbi. And he went to the town and he went to the rabbi's house, which was a wonderfully grand house because his supporters had bought it for him. And he went in to visit the rabbi and he couldn't find him. So he went up to the top floor and there was the rabbi living in this little room with, 3 possessions. One suit, a bowl, and something else, a book. And the young rabbi said, "Rabbi, where are all your things?" And the old rabbi said, "Well, where are yours?" And the young rabbi said, "I'm just passing through." And the old rabbi said, "Well, so am I." We're all just passing through. So let's just celebrate it while we're here. So what are we going to do this Christmas, this holiday season? We're going to be aware. We're going to be grateful. We're going to be present. And this is so easy for this gang. We're going to be joyful. Right?
Right.
I love that song that Asha sang. Because, as I prepare these talks, what I am constantly reminded of is as you try to go for complexity, because everybody wants to sound really smart. Oops. I am so reminded that it's very simple. Spiritual practices are very simple. Our challenge really is not to learn. Our challenge is to unlearn. Our challenge is to unpack all the layers that have been added on so that we get back to what is true. To love, to community, to family, to home. Let's take these thoughts into meditation.